This is the 3 a.m. conversation that you really want to be a fly on the wall for. This is the Sleepless Knights podcast, hosted by Mr. Lobo of Cinema Insomnia and my producer Paul Sanders of BESTOW TV. Those who listen know it's unlike all those other podcasts. This one is for us night people. We obsess on pop culture, we talk movies, talk shop, get weird, do interviews, answer your questions. We take you to the airport and to the laundromat. Okay, well, sometimes we get lost, but we promise you that we will go where no podcast has gone before. Dare you put down as little as $1 American and support our next show. We're getting it ready for you now. All you can hear for $1 or more an episode. Please join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Sleepless Knights Podcast, all one word, SLEEPLESSKNIGHTS Only one D in podcast, even though we emphasize the odd in our pODDcast. We want normal people with real jobs to find us. Sleepless Knights Podcast on Patreon. Thanks for supporting us on Patreon. Tonight's executive producer for the Sleepless Knights Podcast is Anita Rivnik. All systems go.
Attention Sleepless Knights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
Just when you thought it was safe to listen to another podcast, this is the Sleepless Knights of Insomnia. Parental discretion is advised. This is... Keep telling yourself, it's only a podcast. It's only a podcast. It's only a podcast. Mr. Lobo is a movie host sometimes. Paul Sanders. Now, Paul, you wanted to make movie trailers, right? You wanted to cut movie trailers.
Yeah, if I could not find my way into making movies, which some may say I may never have anyway, that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to do, was be a trailer cutter. I mean, that's actually, if you want the whole Caustoons lineup of videos were all cut to be cinematic trailer-esque.
They all feel like that. They feel like a cinematic trailer. In fact, I think the first thing that we worked on together, which was the, Bride of the Son of the Cosplay from Hell.
Well, yeah.
Came from Hell, something like that.
Yeah.
That whole thing, that was the whole premise of it, is that it was like a horror movie trailer.
Correct.
And I've always loved trailers. Like, even as a kid, like, I think about, like, how much I loved commercials and trailers as a kid. You know, like, the shows were so dull most of the time, and then it would go to break, and you'd see these, very intense 2-minute encapsulations of a coming movie or a toy or something, and so that was always kind of, and with all of those things, there's a purity there because it's just the promise of the thing. It can't really disappoint you yet. It's just the promise of what's to come, and your imagination gets to make it sometimes better than the actual thing. Sometimes the movie you've got going on in your mind is so much better than the real movie once you see it.
And you're probably 99% correct, and you should save yourself that $7.
Man. Yes.
man, the prices of movies have gone up so much, which is really weird because like I feel like it's a weird cost averaging, right? Because on the one hand, it's like you go and see a movie, you pay $25 to see Scoob, right?
At home.
Or there was a place in California, in Sacramento, at the drive-in. They were charging $100 a carload. Is that ridiculous for a movie? So let's say $25 a person to see a movie on the one side, but on the other side, people just watch movies for free all the time.
Right.
They're just watching them for free. Either they've got some sort of service where they pay some nominal amount and watch a whole movie. They could watch 100 movies that month, for that $7 or whatever they're paying. So there's virtually almost nothing per movie, right? Or they can just download movies, or they can, they're just on YouTube and they're just watching them. So it's just really funny because the world we live in now is like either a movie's totally worthless or you're paying through the nose, right?
Right.
There's almost nothing in between. But it used to be that movie trailers were that thing that really made you decide whether you wanted to see a movie, whether it was worth the money. You'd make your list of movies that you were interested in seeing. Did you ever save listings from the newspaper of movies that you wanted to see?
No, but I remember there used to be a show on television called Trailer Park, and I loved the hell out of that show.
That was a great show.
All it was just trailers of movies, upcoming movies, and that was your way of finding out what was coming out.
Was that early Sci-Fi Channel? I feel like that was early Sci-Fi.
It may have. I think it bounced from channel to channel. As I remember later on when we got HD, like the high definition channels, HD Net had Trailer Park at one point in time. So I think it was a show that may have bounced from channel to channel to channel as time went on, as they grew out of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
I said no.
Also,
next.
You first.
No, go ahead.
No. After you. No. I insist. No. No.
After you.
I'm the host. You're the guest.
Oh, wait. I'm the host. You're the guest.
Oh, wait. Maybe we're both the host and both the guest.
Sure.
All right. Fine. I don't even remember what we're talking about, so it doesn't make any difference.
We were talking about the show called Trailer Park that used to play trailers.
Trailer Park.
It was on Sci-Fi and then other networks.
And I guess the snarky thing I was going to say is also that's not the most clever name in the world for a show about trailers. So, maybe there's more than one show called Trailer Park.
Maybe it's like something they can't copyright, so we're just going to do that thing.
Whatever trailers. Now, do you know what the term trailer means cinematically?
It used to trail after the movie.
Correct. It would come attached to the reel. So when the film was brought up to the projectionist, the previews for other films were on the same roll of film, the same reel with the movie. So after the whole movie was over, the trailers would be there. And sometimes they would, when you're watching a movie, the movie would end, and in a double feature, the movie would end, the first movie would end, and then you'd see a bunch of trailers, and then you see the second feature. But a lot of times they would clip them. They'd snip the trailers off the end and put them at the start of movies or, wherever you want to kill time when you're showing movies. A good way to do that is to show trailers, also to promote to your audience what is going to be playing at the theater soon. But that was basically how those movies were delivered, is that they were attached to the tail end of a reel of a movie. And
I remember early VHS, they used to trail the movies in the VHS tapes before they put them in the beginning. Because I remember having to fast forward. Maybe it might have been like at Ghostbusters and stuff, or to go through the credits and actually see what was at on the ends of the tapes. And a lot of times there were previews in a lot of those original VHS tapes.
Yeah, and sometimes they did both, where they'd have previews at the start, party in the front, liquor in the back. They would have trailers at the start, or not trailers, previews at the start, and trailers at the end. So if you got your VHS tape, they would have some coming attractions there for you at the beginning, and then after the movie was over, there'd be more, and those would be true trailers because they would be trailing after the movie was over. You could stick around and see, I guess they're assuming that if you're going to watch a whole movie and watch all of the credits, then you're pretty damn hungry for another movie, right?
Right.
So here's some more movies that you might want to watch in the future. Right?
Sure.
And I think that's our topic for tonight, right? I mean, we've already been talking about it for this long. We might as well keep going.
Oh, that was the topic? Shit, I'm going to have to take this off the schedule. Hold on, give me a second. Bad sequels is now trailers. Okay. As you were.
You crossed that. Did you cross it out? You crossed out bad sequels?
Yeah, I crossed that out.
Okay.
All right. And
All
I
right.
crossed that out and I moved Wakeless Day for like the 50th time. So we're good to go.
All right, that's the thing. We have to fly by the seat of our pants. And you don't have any pants, so that's why it's harder for you.
I just got to fly by my seat.
You'll pay for the whole seat, but you'll only use the edge. Trailers are different. They've gone through a lot of paces. Like we talked at the beginning about how much I loved watching movie trailers as a kid, and they always had amazing voiceovers, and they usually would tease the movie. They didn't show you very much. Nowadays, it seems like they just completely give away the whole movie.
There's a lot of movies, especially like if there's movies that I know I'm going to see, I'll purposely avoid the trailer knowing that they're going to ruin every damn aspect of it.
I mean, was it always the case where I don't know a lot about the production of trailers? I mean, are there these separate houses that that's all they do is make trailers, and then you just hire this outfit to just like take whatever exists of your movie and ruin it in 2 minutes?
I feel that that's more of a modern kind of thing. I don't know if it's always been like that, but I feel like it's something that's been a little bit more modern, with the whole, we've got to poll people how our movie has to go and we have to test screen it and everything else, that I feel like that they take that out of the hands of the editor and the director and give it to a third party. Because wasn't there like a couple years ago, there was like a lawsuit or maybe just somebody making a lot of noise where they cut the trailer and basically ruined the ending of the film in the trailer, and the director was upset that the studio was backing this and they were fine with this and they were okay to go with this. Wow. I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but I can't think of the actual occurrence of that, but that doesn't surprise me, because a lot of times I feel I'll be watching a movie and I'm like, okay, well, all right, well, I haven't seen that scene from the trailer. That better not be the end of the movie. That better not be the last scene of the movie. And then it's the last scene of the movie, and I feel like, wow, everything was building up to this thing that I've already seen, and it kind of takes the tinkle out of that last few minutes of the movie, which is already a lot of times the tinkle is taken out of. I don't know why I've created this phrase, taking the tinkle out of something. I guess that's better than saying taking the piss out of it. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could be putting the tinkle into it.
It's not that kind of show, Paul.
Okay.
So, but already we're at this point where you watch a movie and you're not even allowed to like think about that last moment of the film before it jumps right into the end credits. I mean, and then not even that. Usually time the credits are taken away and they're already trying to on streaming, especially trying to advertise the next thing you're supposed to be watching before the first thing is over. So movie trailers, I feel like, are an art form. I feel like that there's a way of
they used to be
communicate a flavor of a film without ruining the film. And nowadays I feel like we're not worried about ruining the film. It's like, okay, we've got your money and thanks, you know. It's like the we'll leave you hanging because we don't care.
We got your money. Surprise, you already saw it before coming in.
Yeah. Good job. So we're going to be talking about the art of promoting a film, the art of movie trailers, the art of leaving you wanting more.
Samuel L. Bronkowitz presents a movie that will make you question if you'll ever cosplay again.
Feeling so good. What's going on?
A terror so terrifying that it's just really terrible. Just when you thought it was safe to cosplay. From the people that brought you Don't Tell Mom My Cosplay is from Hell in 3D and Bride of the Sun, the cosplay from Hell in 3D. It could happen at a convention near you. Keep telling yourself, it's only... Check in your weapon and get your ticket for an epic event you will not want to miss. No critics think you should subject yourself to this film. Correction, all critics agree that this is the film of the year. The cosplay contagion runs. In The Return of the Cosplay That Came from Hell in 3D.
Coming now to an eardrum near you. We're talking about movie trailers, and I remember seeing, I think we already talked about this on the podcast, but I think it was the second Ant-Man movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay.
And I don't think they gave away any major plot points, but some of the more exciting, surprising aspects of when they were getting chased and things kept going big to little. And vice versa.
Yeah, that first fight scene in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, that too.
Is that one of the things you were referencing? Where
Yeah,
they're throwing the knives and the salt shakers and stuff, and they're
yeah. I was thinking like the giant Pez dispenser and things like that. Hello Kitty, right? Wasn't it Hello Kitty Pez dispenser?
Yes. A warning, spoilers for those who haven't seen that movie yet.
Sorry. Yeah, you just take that movie right off your list. No, I didn't ruin the movie, but I just kind of went, oh, I wish I hadn't seen that, because I think I would have just knocked my socks off if I didn't know that was coming.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, do you feel like that movie theaters or movie studios, movie executives kind of feel that audience members will never notice that kind of stuff, that they kind of basically outright spoil the film? But if they show it out of sequence or whatever, that like a normal moviegoer just won't figure it out?
Maybe, or maybe kind of for a lot of people just goes in one eyeball and out the other, and by the time they're watching the movie, they've completely forgot about the trailer, I guess. I guess that's what they're just gaslighting you into going to see it, and then you just assume that you like it and you don't remember. You're not divorcing that scene from the rest of the movie anymore now that you've seen it in sequence. It's you only have the one memory of how it goes in the movie, and you're not thinking about, oh yeah, 5 months earlier I already saw that part. Yeah. Maybe other people's brains don't work the same way that my brain and your brain work, but
I'm still trying to figure out in one eyeball and out the other. How does that work?
I guess it's a visual version of in one ear and out the other. That's what I was trying to create, a turn of phrase that fell on its ass, I guess. But we were talking at the head of the show. We talk about 70s and 80s trailers, and honestly, I really feel like a lot of those didn't really show you anything. Like I think about we were talking about at the top of the show. We talked about Jaws,
right?
All I remember from the trailer is a bum 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 bum. They just show you like the placid surface of the water and maybe the fin coming out, just when you thought it was safe. And then Alien, the movie Alien, which always seems to come up on the show, but I mean, there was just an egg and this weird kind of strange space wind howling or something. Yeah, I don't know what that sound. I don't know what those sounds are, but they're weird. And then like the egg just cracks a little bit and light comes out, and that's it. You don't. And that egg isn't even the egg in the movie. It's some other egg entirely. Right. It's not even the egg that you see in the film.
Easter egg. It's from. It's an egg from. Was it Killer Clowns from Outer Space? It's.
Yeah.
It's just
cotton
even
candy.
Aliens. I remember Aliens, and it was kind of. It was quotes maybe more so from the first movie more so than the second movie. Maybe it's combined of both. But it was just the title card and just how the wording kind of slowly assembles like it does in the opening credits. And it's just phrases from either both movies or just one of the movies. And then by the end, it's just Aliens. And then the tagline.
Right. And taglines, I think, are something that are missing from a lot of trailers now. Like, I can't think of famous taglines of newer movies as much. Like, I think, in space, no one can hear you scream. Or The Fly had, what was it? Be afraid. Be very afraid. They don't have, a lot of trailers don't have voiceovers. They don't have anything really it's that whole show don't tell kind of situation.
Right.
And a lot of times, I guess, so that they can entice you, instead of saying things like, like the first Star Wars trailer would say things like, unlike anything you've ever seen, or a spectacle light years ahead of everything else. There's no promise. They can't promise you anything. So They just show you things. And I think that's how a lot of these modern trailers get spoiled is that they're just trying to sell it with all they've got. And the only thing they've got are just visuals from the movie.
Going back to the taglines, there was a movie that came out in like 2014 that was actually known by its tagline more so than the title of the movie, because they repeated the tagline so often. It was on, I believe the movie poster only had the tagline. It didn't have the name of the movie. So everybody assumed that it was the tagline. And then when the movie title came out, they're like, well, what the hell's this? It was, I don't know if you remember the movie Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah,
but
right.
The tagline was always live, die, repeat. That's what people coined the name of the movie was live, die, repeat.
There was another movie, too, where they wore animal masks. Like they were like stalking people, and they had like weird culty animal masks on. And I think the movie called You're Next? It might be. I don't know, but I remember I kept thinking either that I kept getting the tagline and the movie mixed up. I didn't know I didn't know if Your Next was the tagline or if Your Next was the actual name of the movie. So, but yeah, I mean, it is interesting how that world is different now. People don't like narrators, which I do. I love narrators, but that's because I guess I am one. I like being a storyteller and a narrator.
Well, I mean, if we were I guess technically we are on YouTube, but the YouTube channel Cinema sins you for having narration in your movie, so I guess we'd be sinned.
Oh, really? That's a sin.
That's a sin to have narration at the beginning of your movie.
I would love to see how Clockwork Orange would happen without narration. Would that even be a movie if that didn't have any narration?
Clockwork Orange minus narration?
Yeah, I think that would be terrible. And, people always give me crap about it, but I prefer Blade Runner with the narration than without.
Right. What's always weird is like movies like Batman. And we're used to reading the comics Batman where you're reading his inner monologue. So there's narration of how he's thinking throughout the comics. But every goddamn Batman movie, they take away his inner monologue, and you have to take everything at face value. And I believe a lot of those movies lose something by removing that inner narration.
I think so too, because I think in a lot of movies, the inner monologue of a character kind of tells you who the movie's about. That it's like, okay, this is this is what we're watching is through this character's perspective, And I think nowadays they kind of are trying to hedge their bets where you're not even sure who the main character of the movie is. You're just, you're picking the character you most identify with, and you're deciding that that's the main character.
Right.
So movies that get spoiled by the trailer, you have some, list of movies that have been spoiled by the trailer.
Yeah, I had pulled some stuff up because I couldn't really think of anything last minute. So being uncreative as I am right now, I pulled up a list, which is annoying because it's Screen Rant first of all, and it was like top 21 crazy movie twists, and then there's 25 of them, and then I'm going through it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's because 3 of those are not that actually the trailer didn't spoil it. So, like, the number 1 thing on the list is not spoiled. So, what?
Yeah, why have that in the list? Why it just makes it more confusing.
And you mixed it all in, like, everything's all intermixed, so it was kind of a pain in the ass to pull apart. But
what is kind of funny, by telling you that something isn't spoiled, they're now the ones who are spoiling it.
Well, so much for seeing
it's like, they didn't reveal that Kylo Ren was Han Solo's son.
Correct.
Yeah, thanks, asshole.
Well, now I know. Now
I guess I don't have to see that movie now.
Take that one off the list. I'm actually surprised on how often Marvel films are listed on here, because it's kind of one of those things that I feel Marvel alters their trailers so that things don't get spoiled.
Yeah.
Especially like Thor Ragnarok spoilers, but Thor loses an eye.
Yeah.
Further spoils becomes worthless because the next movie he gains an eye. Because they don't want him to wear an eye patch, I guess. But they kind of covered up the fact that he loses the eye in the trailers.
in the trailer they just show him with 2 eyes, right?
Right. And I believe I've read articles before where Marvel will record extra things to kind of hide things. Like during the break, you and I had talked about, like, in Infinity War, the Hulk is amongst all the Avengers running up to fight the bad guys on Wakanda, where in reality, how the story progresses is that the Hulk won't come out of Bruce Banner. He won't appear, so Bruce Banner is actually in the Hulkbuster at the end. It's not the Hulk.
Yeah.
And
and how they mix that up.
And I know I've read other articles too where they show, like, Thanos grabbing Captain America, and the different stones are missing from his gauntlet, so that that didn't get spoiled either, because that appears towards the end of the film.
Right.
And they removed a lot of the stones so that you don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. They would go that far to mix up some of the facts about the movie, just so when you're watching it, you're not like, oh, okay, I know what's going to happen.
Mm.
So, one of the things, I guess, that was on the list that you had mentioned is that in the trailer they revealed that the Terminator in Terminator 2 isn't a bad guy anymore. He's a good guy.
Correct.
In the second Terminator.
Right.
I mean, is that a selling? Because that really wouldn't be a selling point, right? I would think if you didn't know that might be something that make you not want to see the movie. Right?
No, because when Terminator 2 came out, I was so young that I didn't really see Terminator 1. So, personally, on a personal level, that made no impact on me.
Yeah,
I didn't really know.
12. I think there's 12 years between those movies or something. So I don't know if you're really spoiling anything. I think you're right. I think it's a totally different audience.
And that trailer is very much pushed on the T-1000, the liquid metal Terminator.
Yeah.
Is that T-1000? Yeah, because he's he's T-800.
Yeah, and I guess that's the only way to really sell that guy as the bad guy is to reveal that who Arnold Schwarzenegger is the good guy this time.
Isn't it kind of one of those things where it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't want to be a villain anymore in any of his films? He was being paid mucho bucks, so he couldn't play the villain anymore.
I think that's it. Yeah, he's always got to be the heroic lead no matter what. And so he just, I don't know what kind of actor that is. I guess, there are 2 kinds of actors. There's a character actor and a character man. And there are some a character man, you just want them to play the same person in every movie. So, whereas a character actor, they're always different. They hide in their character, whatever it is. They might be a good guy. They might be a bad guy. They might be a background character. They might be the main character, but they're versatile. But I guess if once you reach a certain level of success, you're a character man, where you just basically people just pay you to be yourself. Like I feel like Tom Hanks is like that.
Right. Will Smith.
Right. People just like that guy, and they just want to see them be themselves in another movie.
The Rock. Another one.
The Rock. Yeah. I feel like there's a whole The Rock section of movies in the Walmart.
It's just The Rock.
Where it's just The Rock. I'm like, it's like in half of these movies, it's like, did these have theatrical releases? Is there just a factory just putting out movies with The Rock in them? Are they just putting The Rock's face on a bunch of random movies?
The Rock doesn't exist. He's all CG. He's been CG human for years.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a Pixar just animates The Rock in different movies.
It's kind of weird that, you mentioned Terminator, and actually Terminator makes the list 3 times. And the third time, the last one I remember the most, but I'll talk about the middle one, whereas that they ruined Terminator Salvation by revealing, again, spoilers if you haven't seen Terminator Salvation, but they ruined that Marcus is a Terminator.
Oh.
In that film.
Yeah, right.
In the trailer.
Yeah. Wow. That feels like that's a big plot point to give away.
But then they doubled down with Terminator Genisys. Genisys?
I think it's just Genesis. It's just spelled weird with a Y.
Isn't it like Fantastic Four? It's Fanforstic.
The Fanforstic.
It's Fanforstic and Terminator Genisys.
Genisys.
But yeah, I remember them ruining the trailer. I remember seeing the trailer in the theaters and ruining that John Connor is a Terminator. Sorry, spoilers, but that movie was shit anyway, so.
I didn't see it, but that sounds terrible. I mean, how could for that character to be a Terminator, that betrays everything. Like, that makes that whole story worthless.
Yeah, they were trying to reboot, but yeah.
Trying to subvert our expectations. I always hate that, where like they have a movie, it's like, oh, well, we subverted your expectations. It's like, yeah, but the whole idea is that it has to be a surprise that people like. It's not just like, it can't just be something they don't expect. It's like, oh, we killed all the main characters, we subverted your expectations. It's like, yeah, but I didn't want to see that. That's not what it didn't make me feel like, yeah, that story, it's a great story. It's like, no, I just feel like you took my money and, hit me over the head,
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it sucks because it's like, I knew that from the trailer, and it's like I have no desire to see the movie now because it's like I know that's the bad guy. It's ruined all expectations of the movie. Yeah.
If you that's the danger of it's not like oh no you didn't, I gotta see what they did. I don't know why I got all street all of a sudden.
I know you sound like Will Smith there.
But I maybe that's Will Smith's reaction to Terminator Genisys.
Yeah, it's Will Smith's lines are, oh, hell no, and I got to get me one of these.
Oh, hell no. But, I guess there might be part of that, like, they did what? Oh, no, I've got to see this. How dare they? Here's my $25. I'm ready to be mad at you.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, and speaking of ripping people off, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Attention Sleepless Nights. All systems are go! This is your fully functioning broadcast certified narrator with an exciting program change announcement. Your normally scheduled Sleepless Nights pODDcast with your host, Mr. Lobo of Cinema Insomnia, and producer co-host Paul Sanders of BESTOW TV is about to be taken over by a space pirate radio drama of intergalactic proportions.
I gotta correct you on that. Space Pirates.
Featuring Mr. Lobo and characters from the Cinema Insomnia and OSI 74 universes caught in the grip of another ear-splitting podcast hosted by that pantsless producer Paul and his bitchy and sometimes glitchy space pod guidance computer Gal 9000.
That's slightly offensive. I'm sophisticated AI.
Will Paul finally get rescued from deep space?
We got him. He's in the Delta Quadrant.
Is Miss Mittens really a gorilla now?
No need to get hostile. I'm not going to argue with a 60-ton gorilla.
Are Mr. Lobo and OSI media mogul Alan N. Smithy the same person?
It's not like a Superman Clark Kent situation we have here.
Is any of this going to make any sense?
Working. Abacus responding never.
Will anyone bother to answer any of these questions? Don't ask me. I just read these words as they are written down for me. So get ready to blast off into a densely scripted and ham-fisted adventure and find out for yourself. Look out, Sleepless Nights, because for one brain-smashing hour, the Wakeless Days rides again. This is your humble, yet proud narrator signing off. We now return you to your normal, dreary lives. For now.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
Pieces. It's exactly what you think it is. That was one of my, now you're doing the Terminator, I'm doing Pieces.
Well, that was a fun little crossover trailer. Technically, Terminator 2, there were pieces. I mean, when they froze them and broke them. So.
Yeah, there are pieces. The horror movie trailer, I think, is really funny for the movie Pieces because, you know, obviously it's like kind of playing off of people's expectations of, you know, you're just seeing a movie to see victims cut up by a psychopath. And so in the trailer, they're like, Pieces. It's exactly what you think it is, which I think is a really funny thing to say in a trailer, just because so much of what you're paying for is to be surprised. And the fact that you're running to go see a movie because you do know what kind of movie it is, and you know exactly what's going to happen. It is interesting. We were talking a little bit about this in the break, like how you wanted to see the Scoob. You didn't want to see the Scoob movie. Based on the first trailer.
I didn't want to see the Scoob movie based on the first trailer because they kind of presented it like here's the reboot and here's how Scoob and Shaggy become friends and here's how they meet the rest of the gang, and it's just like, we're doing this again.
Another origin.
Every time you got to do this, you got to retell the origin. Like every movie, you got to kill Bruce Wayne's parents. Like seriously, like we know this by now.
Here's the alley near the theater. Oh no, there go the pearls. Yeah, it's gonna set that single rose down. Yeah, every time.
But then when the second trailer came out, that's what caught my attention and was like, oh, I actually kind of want to see it because I'm not really interested in seeing the origin of Scooby-Doo. I'm interested in seeing the origin of Dynamite and Blue Falcon. And when they popped on the screen, it's like, oh, well, now I'm interested. You know, now I'm kind of, I'll pay that $25 for that streaming service.
Wow, $25. God bless you. So you're keeping this industry robust by paying that $25.
I might have been the only one.
I don't think so. It probably did well in streaming, I would imagine.
I don't know. I've read mixed reviews because a lot of people, because the movie's named Scoob, but it's not really superly focused on Scoob. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. So therefore, people were kind of upset because they were spending time with the other thing. And I didn't know until like a couple weeks ago that this is actually a setup to a Hanna-Barbera universe, a shared universe. So this is actually the start of that. And I'm hoping it did good enough that there is a sequel because I do want to see more of it. I'd like to see more of that universe.
For those people who don't know, Blue Falcon and Dynamite were characters that had their own show Saturday mornings. There was a bionic dog and a superhero in a falcon costume.
Hey, BF. I'm the genie.
That's terrible. He just talked like Bullwinkle. Lift it up with sleeve, BF.
Flashing through the sky, he's a go-go guy. Stronger than a train with a so-so brain.
You talking about me, Blue Falcon? Gosh.
He's fearless, scareless, a little too careless. Dynamite. He's a go-go dog person.
That's me, dog.
Anyway, so and the other one, was it Gary Owens that was Blue Falcon?
Don't remember.
Have a taste of my hyper-corrosive croutons, laser brain.
He's fearless, careless, a little too careless. Dynamite! He's a go-go dog person.
That's me, Dog Wonder.
Anyway, it was this is basically, I guess, like you were saying, you wanted to see it because you were tantalized, even though they were sort of giving it away a little more in the second trailer. That tantalized you,
right?
And that whole thing kind of reminded me of when the Universal monsters were saying, "Oh yeah, you like the MCU? Well, we're going to have our own UCU, I guess, right? Or UMCU, Universal Monster Dark Universe."
Right.
And so when the Mummy trailer hit, not only do they show you the Mummy, which I guess is why they got Tom Cruise.
Right.
Show me the Mummy!
Well, I mean, it would have sucked if they dropped the trailer for the Mummy and they didn't show the Mummy at all.
Show me the Mummy!
Hey, do you know that the human head weighs 8 pounds? That's a fact you now know.
I'm going to sidetrack on Jerry Maguire just for a second, because I feel like Jerry Maguire was the first trailer I had ever seen where we probably already said this on the podcast, but they marketed it to different groups. Like, they had one trailer that had it set up as a drama. They had another trailer that made it seem like the movie was a romantic comedy, and they had a lot of scenes with the kid. And then they had a third version where it was just this sort of macho-driven sports movie.
Pushing
right?
the sports end of it, the whole thing with
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Cuba Gooding Jr. and O'Donnell. Chris O'Donnell was in it too, so they were pushing that whole angle.
And so, like, no matter where depending on if you're watching a commercial for Jerry Maguire that's airing on Lifetime, you're seeing a totally different commercial for the same movie than what's playing in the middle of ESPN. Right? Exactly. But speaking of Tom Cruise and the Mummy, first of all, I feel like Tom Cruise is one of those people that, like, well, I know this for a fact. When he gets If you agree to have him in the movie, he has total creative control above the director or the producers. He has script approval. Right. So basically, he can change things in the script and change things in the movie. And so even though, which I think probably made things somewhat difficult for them to create this universe.
Right. And I mentioned real quick, too, because we're all on the same subject, where there was a trailer for Aliens 3 that was presented in a different way. And, we had briefly talked about this during the break as well, where that way changed versus the teaser that we all saw when it came out, because that all hinged on Sigourney Weaver, and Sigourney Weaver basically kind of did the same thing. She kind of did the Tom Cruise thing before Tom Cruise did the Tom Cruise thing. Yes,
Tom Cruise is really just doing the Sigourney Weaver thing. On Earth, everyone can hear you scream.
Right. That was the teaser we got, and then we were promised that the aliens were coming, and then nope.
No, they never got to Earth. They didn't even get close to Earth in that third movie. And I guess again what you were saying, where I think they wanted to take it more in the direction of Aliens Earth War and have this colonial Marines, whereas I felt Sigourney Weaver wanted it to be more about the Ripley character and less about the other characters.
Right, and then it just kind of was snowballed from there, where Alien 4 was all about her and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think she even handpicked the director, and
she would only play in Aliens 4 because she wanted a lesbian kiss scene. Was one of the negotiating points, and I believe she does that with Winona Ryder
in the Mummy movie. Which I thought this was the shark jumping moment of the Mummy movie. Beside the fact that it's the Mummy Impossible, right? It's just Tom Cruise. It's just Mission Impossible.
Right. Tom Cruise just plays Tom Cruise. He's basically the same role in every movie.
Character man. He's the same role in every film. And maybe they thought Tom Cruise was going to be the through line for all of the monster movies. I don't know if we'll ever know this, Maybe that was the thing that they were thinking, is that he would be the connective tissue between all of these movies.
I kind of feel that Russell Crowe I feel that they were putting their bets on Russell Crowe, and that Dr. Jekyll was going to be the connective tissue between all the movies. That could be wrong, or it could be both.
Or both. But the thing is, there wasn't enough Mummy in the Mummy movie, and not only was there not enough Mummy, but halfway through the movie, Dr. Jekyll shows up, and hi, I'm Dr. Jekyll. Welcome to Monster Base. And then they show you like the Claw, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and vampire fangs, and all kinds of things.
The book from the Brandon Fraser Mummy, so that we could tie that universe to.
So yeah, and then he, and then again, spoilers. He starts turning into Mr. Hyde. And has to take his medicine so that he can stop turning into Mr. Hyde. So halfway
it's not even so much that he has to take his medicine. We're introduced to the character. He's taking his medicine when we're introduced to him. And not even 5 minutes goes by and he has to take his medicine again, or bad things are going to happen. And it's like, why? Why did we go that far? Like,
that was really weak. And I remember thinking that was the shark jumping moment of that. And it's like, okay, well, you're already trying to pitch me on another movie halfway through this movie. You're trying to pitch me on 5 different movies going 5 different directions, and we're not halfway through this first movie.
That's your trailer in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, that was the trailer in the movie for some other movies that will probably never be made. But I guess the Dr. Jekyll thing was revealed in the actual trailer for The Mummy, that the Dr. Jekyll character was in the trailer initially.
He's providing the narration, and you get a cutaway. You see Russell Crowe in the flesh. I don't know if he's referred to by name, but he is carrying a good chunk of that trailer.
So I feel like I guess that from a fan standpoint, much like how the Scoob second trailer affected you, perhaps maybe fans of this idea of the Universal monsters having their own cinematic universe, which they already did already. Thank you very much. The Universal monsters having their own cinematic universe, that people would be excited to see, oh, okay, this is the character that is going to tie all this together. Oh, damn, Dr. Jekyll, this is okay. They've got their checklist, and then maybe they're getting excited, and maybe that was how that was supposed to work, is that it is supposed to spoil it a little bit because it's supposed to be so darn enticing that, we're eager for these 5 other movies that haven't been made yet. I guess,
but I don't know. Like the appeal with the Marvel universe is that they always peppered in those kind of characters and those cameos. Like nothing ever really super hinged on, Ant-Man's appearing in Iron Man, and it's going to be a big deal, and this is a big plot point. It's just one of those things where like it should be treated as more like a cameo or kind of a tease or maybe even a wink moment. I mean, we were kind of saying where it's like, he shouldn't have, maybe he shouldn't even have the the Mr. Hyde personality, that he should be just Dr. Jekyll, and he's running the monster HQ, and he starts experimenting on himself, and 3 movies down the line we get Jekyll.
Yeah, that would be more to build up to that. That would be pretty great, especially if you even had him in the first movie and he was just, he is a monsterologist of some sort, and he's very, very interested in this case of the mummy, and that he's been traveling the world trying to understand these anomalies, and just kind of try to establish him as that expert, as that character,
right?
And
instead
his
of getting the fucked up version of Hyde right from the beginning.
Yeah, and then just rushing right into it. That would have been really interesting if he's like, okay, what causes this kind of, he becomes so fascinated with fascination with this dark side and with these monsters that he actually turns into one. That would be a very interesting aspect, especially, but no, they just rush right out of the gate. Hi, I'm Dr. Jekyll.
It'd be their version of Hulk. That would be their version of Hulk. Maybe that's why they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to feel that they were too close to the Marvel universe, and they're like, they're just ripping off Marvel. I
don't know. I mean, already he is their Hulk already, right? If he's turning into a fucking monster halfway through the movie. So I don't know. I again, genre flipping, right? It's like the first. Now everybody loves the Aliens, and Aliens is a great movie, but Aliens is not in the same genre that the first Alien movie is.
No.
Like the first Alien movie is a horror movie.
Right.
The second Alien movie is an action movie.
Correct.
And the thing what we're having here with these movies with the Dark Universe movies, the way they're advertised and the way that they're shown, is I feel like they're action movies that happen to have a monster in them. They don't really seem to have any sort of they don't seem to. Is anyone getting scared of the mummy in this movie, or is it just an obstacle that Tom Cruise can jump a motorcycle over?
No, and I don't really feel like she was much of an obstacle in comparison to, say, like Brandon Fraser's version of the mummy. I thought he was more imposing than she was.
I did like that actress, and I think that it could have been a really great mummy, but that whole movie is just about something else, and we'll never know what they were going to do. They spoiled it,
and what American Werewolf and
that's right. It did kind of have some aspects of American Werewolf in London with him seeing his friend, and I will just leave it at that.
Sorry, spoilers.
You don't want to spoil it, so we're going to regroup and we're going to spoil a few things for ourselves, and then we'll be back with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia, Trailer Edition.
You know their names.
Ricky, Julian, Bubbles, Lucy, J-Rock, Tyrone, Corn Chopper.
Mr. Randy. You know their stories.
I don't want to be bragging or anything, but I've been in jail a few times.
But you've never seen them like this.
This is the big time, boys.
Bigger. Badder.
Yeah, because you said the slap tits.
What are you expecting your baby, Randy? Go time. Way more awesomer.
This place makes me frisky.
Trailer Park Boys, the movie. Starts October 6th.
See, hear, feel. Brought to you through the miracle of Trailer-Rama. It creeps, it crawls, it eats you alive. They're back from the grave and they're ready to party. Yes, movie trailers. And yes. Remember, though, the Friday the 13th trailer was great because it had the body count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they would just go.
I only ever remember whenever I think of Friday the 13th, I only ever remember the thing where they're shooting the arrow and it's coming towards the camera because it's from Friday the 13th Part 3.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that
3D.
whole, every third movie had to be in 3D.
Yes. Well, and every movie made in 1983 had to be in 3D also. So that those two things combined a lot, where we had the Amityville 3D and the Jaws 3D and the Sharkening 3D.
The Sharkening 3D.
And, yes. Amityville House of Pancakes.
Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street managed to hold out to like the end though, till it was 3D.
Yeah, they messed themselves up, but they I feel like Dream Warriors feels like a fifth movie. I don't know how that ended up being. They made their fifth movie third, so they really screwed up their whole 3D plans with that. It is interesting when you have a movie with one character versus another character, and this is another thing we were talking about with the Universal monsters, where if you've got Frankenstein versus the Wolfman, and that's what your trailer's about, you're already giving away 3/4 of what the plot is of the movie just by saying it's Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. So when Dracula shows up in the third act, it's a real big surprise, or whatever the third monster is. And that's kind of, I feel like with these versus movies,
is
that's
that
kind
Abbott
of like,
and Costello?
That's what's going to happen in this King Kong versus Godzilla movie that's going to come out. It's going to be Abbott and Costello show up in the third act.
They're just going to animate their corpses and make them kaiju. Is that what you're saying? Hey Abbott!
Hey Abbott!
Hey Abbott! Who's on first? Kong. Kong's on first?
Of course, you idiot.
I don't remember our routine going like this. It's kind of dumb.
Anyway, so but usually, I think what's going to happen, and I think I'm on the record for this, but in this King Kong versus Godzilla movie that hasn't come out yet, I think it's going to be King Kong fighting Godzilla, and then Mecha King Ghidorah or somebody is going to come on the scene, and then the two of them will have to team up to fight this third monster that appears in the last act of the movie. That's my big prediction. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that's what I would do if I made that movie.
They kind of have to, because they kind of bill King Kong and they bill Godzilla as both heroes. So
yeah,
it's kind of got to be this misunderstanding kind of deal.
And then at the end of speaking of cinematic universes, but at the end of King of the Monsters, the bad guy ends up buying the King Ghidorah head from the black market. The black market giant monster head, underground giant monster head, black market.
Dun dun dun.
He buys the King Ghidorah head, so I'm thinking Mecha King Ghidorah is likely, or it might all grow back. I don't know, because apparently it can grow back from being. I don't know if it can grow back the other way. It grew back the other head. When the head got cut off, a third head grew back. But does a whole body grow back on the head?
So if you sever all three heads, you just get three single-headed Ghidorahs instead of one three-headed.
They would each have three heads. All the new ones would have three heads too. So you'd really be in trouble.
Is Ghidorah like a reverse Hydra?
I guess Ghidorah is kind of like a space Hydra, perhaps.
And then are they going to introduce Deadpool into this? And then behead him?
But usually, though, that's the formula of a movie where you've got a versus movie. Not always, but when you've got two heavy hitters that are, especially two heavy hitters that are heroes, usually you have a third character present themselves in the last act. And I believe that famously happened in the Batman versus Superman movie. Now, did they reveal that in the trailer that another character shows up?
Oh, they blew that. I think the first day the trailer dropped. They blew the fact that Wonder Woman. They not only blew the fact that Wonder Woman was in it, they blew the fact that Doomsday was in it too.
Oh my God. That's like a double spoilers, man. See, and again, is that the thing where it's like they're feeling like, oh, Wonder Woman's in this, I want to see what she does, or oh, Doomsday's in this, I want to see what he does, versus it just happening, right?
It's like, Batman Ving Superman is not enough. Now we have to have Wonder Woman in there Ving both of them, and then Doomsday Ving them all.
There's a lot of Ving.
A lot of Ving.
Yeah, cover that V up. We don't need to see that V. This isn't, come on, Sharon Stone. We've had enough V for one day. Yeah, it's strange, though, where, maybe modern audiences don't see that as a spoiler because they don't watch movies like that. Like, no one's looking for surprises. They're just going through their checklists. Okay, yeah. Okay, Wonder Woman's in this, so I got to see that. Oh, okay, they're doing Doomsday. I guess I'll see that. I mean, is that the level of disaffected audience that they're with, where people just going through the motions of, oh, that's that thing I want to see, so I'll go see it?
I guess. I don't know. Or that people are so, at this point in time, they're so sick of Batman movies and they're so sick of Superman movies that screw any plot line that has the two of them. We have to have a third superhero into the mix. And I mean, as far as the trailer goes anyway...
Did we even have a Superman movie? I'm still waiting for a Superman movie. I don't think we've had one since Superman Returns.
We had Man of Steel that was in between that. Man of Steel introduced the Henry Cavill.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't very good.
That was a part of that. Well, neither was Batman versus Superman, so...
But I mean, I don't really feel like... I feel like they don't know how to do Superman anymore. Like, I think we've talked about this, but I mean, I feel like they keep trying to make Superman like Batman anyway. Like, why even have Batman versus Superman when they're both like these dark, brooding, what, doesn't he like break General Zod's back or something?
Snaps his neck.
Well,
yeah, I mean, spoilers, that's who Doomsday is General Zod.
So, I mean, I just think all that stuff is just like, I just don't feel like any of that is Superman-like.
And the other thing that's misleading with the trailer anyway, and that may be just the reason why they cut it the way it is that, oh shit, Doomsday's in there. So it's like, you're saying where oh, you got King Kong versus Godzilla, a third thing's got to have to come so that they have to team up. So it's kind of the same deal where it's like, oh, well, Batman is Ving Superman, so something has to show up so that they have to V that thing instead.
Yeah.
And the way the trailer presents it, where it's like, oh shit, they're gonna bring in Doomsday. Oh, that's awesome. And Doomsday is like the last 5 minutes and the most shittiest villain ever on film. It's like they could have done an entire fucking movie on Doomsday, and they shit the bed with it. As a matter of fact, some articles that I've read where it's like it wasn't even supposed to be Doomsday. It was supposed to be Bizarro, so that they could reserve Doomsday for another movie. And that actually, if that was Bizarro, that would have made much more sense to me, that character being Bizarro versus being Doomsday.
Yeah. Bizarro would have made a lot more sense.
And Bizarro is a hard thing to put on film anyway, so it would have been just fine to use Bizarro in that manner versus how his comic book origins are,
I guess. Although I love Bizarro, I could watch a whole Bizarro World movie, honestly. Maybe I'm just stupid, but maybe I just have no taste. But I mean, a cube planet. I would go the whole route. The weird stone necklaces that tell you which Bizarro it is. All of it.
My question is that in this universe they got rid of Superman's underwear. Would that mean that Bizarro either wears underwear or just doesn't wear anything?
Yeah, I guess the outer underwear. The thing that I don't understand is that they don't do the obvious thing, which is probably in the 30s when Superman was created, he probably was just dressed like a wrestler where he just has trunks and his legs are bare. You know what I mean? Where his chest was probably bare and his legs were bare, like a fighter, like a wrestler, or like a Greek god or something, And I feel like it, the underwear part isn't really never mind. I can't even I wouldn't want to change you wouldn't want to change the costume anyway. It's a iconic thing.
Right.
It's like, I don't know why it would just be like suddenly waking up and going, oh, you know what? Why don't we just make the American flag purple? And since we've got all those same colors in there anyway, it could just be all light lavender instead. And rather than making it so confusing with stars and stripes, those things don't even go together.
Mm-hmm. I feel it might be a Tim Burton thing. There might be a hangover from that where Tim Burton wanted to strip him of his colors and make him wear all black. And all that other crap, or or it just harkens back to that 25% thing that we occasionally hint about. Yeah,
because also too the 30s version of Superman. I mean, if the Fleischer cartoons are any indication of it, the 30s version of Superman, how that looks, is somewhat public domain because it's so old. And then, of course, there's those original poor bastards that they stole Superman from. So if they make him different from that, was it Siegel and Schuster, right?
Right.
The two originators of Superman.
Yes.
So I mean, again, some of it is that they're deliberately not making him like Superman because they don't want to pay anybody any money. They want to have this.
They don't want to pay the family.
They don't want to pay the family. It's like, no, look, we're doing this guy, and he's a jackass, and he doesn't have his underwear on the outside. So this is our thing now, and you can go take a hike and take a short walk off a long pier.
Well, that might be a thing that's reflected from the comic books too, because the New 52 had come out, and I think the version of Superman that we're seeing cinematically is more reflective of how that character looks in the comics. Again, it could be the whole thing that they're trying to hold back money from anybody else, that has claims on it, because Batman, I don't think changed in the comics or anything else. It's just Superman can't have his underwear on the outside because that is lame.
I guess so. I
However,
feel like there's
a guy that can climb walls and dress like a Spider-Man, that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
a person that can run fast, that's fine. But he can't have his underwear on the outside.
Yeah. I mean, and like Spider-Man's outfit is so wild and flamboyant, and that doesn't hurt that character at all. Like no one is bothered by this red and blue, really like wildly designed. In fact, they've made it more wildly designed, like in newer Spider-Man versions of the costume. I feel like the The costume has even gotten wilder and more kind of strange. The patterns of it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
whenever he's not Tony Stark Jr.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like that it was Superman. It's like they're making him more subdued, you know, and it's just like he's a superhero. He's supposed to be extra. Let him be extra, you know?
Right. Well, you're already asking your audience to assume that, you know, this guy comes from Krypton and he has this kind of powers and that kind of powers, you know, that he can fly and he can leap buildings in a single bound and et cetera, whatever the rest of that stuff is. I don't remember right now, but something about a
the course of mighty rivers. Yeah.
Make the planet spin backwards so that you can save only your girlfriend and fuck everybody else.
Cheese. Yeah. That's right. Save your girlfriend.
But the hell with everybody else. And
you had that talk too, where it's like RoboCop has 4 directives. Superman has 1 directive, which is not to interfere with the course of human history. So he blows that right out of the gate. He only has 1 directive, and he blows it. Uh-huh. All right. You know, we're getting too far away from the trailer thing, though.
You think of any other movies that were spoiled by their trailers in their entirety?
Oh, so sure, of course. Like, I think Free Willy. I mean, you pretty much know.
Well, I mean, a movie named Free Willy, if you go to that thing and your Willy isn't freed, there is something wrong with that movie.
Well, you're the pantsless producer, so your Willy's always free.
I mean, I think the problem with that is it's spoiled within the title.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Speed, right, is another one probably.
I mean, that's another one that kind of the same thing. I mean, if you're naming your movie Speed,
yeah. Well, and I feel
there
that
either
way
has to be drugs involved, or you have to be good doing something fast.
Right. It's you got to keep this bus going under what is it, over 55 under
55 miles an hour.
55 or it explodes.
I think you saw the wrong movie.
Deranged traffic cop who puts a bomb on a bus to try to keep them driving under the speed limit. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so. But honestly, to a certain degree, you know, movies are deliverable quantities, right? Where it's like, I guess that's why I'm so mad when I go watch a Superman movie and he doesn't look or behave like Superman, you know? So a certain amount of it is you know, you're entering a contract. It's like, okay, I'm paying to see this. This is the thing I want to see. Now show it to me. Right?
Show me your Willy.
Free that Willy.
Free the Willy.
You know, one of the things we didn't talk about, and I'll only briefly say this, but you know, they're changing whole movies based on reaction to the trailer, which I think is weird sometimes. Where, you know, we didn't even get to talk about things like Sonic the Hedgehog or Cats, where people saw the trailer and went, "Oh hell no," or "I don't like how those characters look," and then they like changed the whole movie to make you like the movie better based on the negative reaction to the trailer.
But in terms of Sonic, that was a positive. Fuck Cats. I have no desire to see that movie. I don't think there's enough drugs on the world to see Cats.
Release the butthole cut.
Oh, Christ! How far have we fallen as a race, as a species? But Sonic, I believe that the fans actually saved that movie.
Yeah, I think they did. I don't need to see the butthole cut of Sonic. I think they did a good job.
Oh, Sonic had the butthole cut?
No, not Cat. It wasn't Cats.
It wasn't Cats?
Yeah, and then we're still waiting on New Mutants. No one's going to release the butthole cuts of New Mutants.
Oh, by the time they release New Mutants, the main actors are going to be in like their 40s. So.
They'll be the old mutants. But that movie was interesting because whoever made the trailer cut it as a horror movie.
Right.
And then now they have to like totally remake the movie to make it match the trailer, which I don't know if it's even going to come out now, right?
There's a whole bunch of things. No, now that it went back to Disney, and Disney's like, yeah, just go back to cutting it how you wanted to. And now it's supposed to be going back to the horror movie. But the joke that I made is that, yeah, they kind of need to recall some of the actors to do some of the shoots, and they're much older than they were when they originally shot.
Boy, oh boy. It's a brave new world coming soon to a theater near you. More bitching from Paul and Mr. Lobo.
The butthole cut of Sleepless Nights.
Really? Yeah, thank you for listening to the butthole cut.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Nights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Dead House Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/MR.LOBO, or on Twitter, at Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as Bestow TV, at bestow.tv, on YouTube /Bestow TV, on Twitter at BestowProd, PROD, and on Facebook, Bestow TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MRLOBO @CINEMAINSOMNIA.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
That's
patreon.com/Sleepless Nights Podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Nights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.